So, you're an international freelancer, you're making good money from clients in the US, and now you've got to deal with the IRS. Yeah, I know, it can sound pretty intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. We're going to walk through the whole thing by following the story of a freelancer we'll call Alex. So, let's meet Alex. Alex is a super talented freelancer living outside the US who just had an amazing year with some American companies. Awesome, right? Well, now it's tax time. Alex needs to file a US tax return, to stay on the right side of the law and, fingers crossed, get a refund. But to do any of that, Alex needs one specific thing from the IRS. And that one thing is the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or ITIN for short. It's a 9-digit number, and it always starts with a 9. Now, the IRS issues these for one main reason, so people who can't get a Social Security number can still file their taxes. Let's be really clear, though. It's only for tax stuff. It doesn't give you permission to work, and it has nothing to do with your immigration status. It's just a tool for filing taxes. Okay, so let's get into it. Alex is about to stumble into 5 super common and honestly really frustrating mistakes. But hey, don't worry, we're here to help Alex and you sidestep every single one. We'll cover the form-only mistake, the notarized document trap, accidentally claiming the wrong credits, bad timing, and what happens after you get the number. And then we'll wrap up with the pro-level solution that helps you avoid all these headaches from the start. First up is mistake number 1, and this is probably the one that trips up more people than anything else. It's thinking the whole application is just one form you can mail in all by itself. So Alex finds the application, which is Form W-7, and thinks, perfect, I'll just fill this out, stick it in an envelope, and boom, I'm done. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's an application form, so you just send in the form. But unfortunately, with the IRS, it's rarely that simple. And rejection. If you send in that form all by its lonesome, it's getting rejected, period. Why? Because the IRS needs to see why you need an ITIN. You can't just ask for one. You have to prove you have a real, legitimate tax reason to get it. So here's the fix, and this is crucial. The W-7 form is basically a cover sheet, not the main event. What Alex actually needs to do is prepare a complete U.S. tax return. For most freelancers, that's a Form 1040-NR. You leave the Social Security number spot blank, and then you physically attach the signed W-7 to the very front. The whole package, the return and the W-7, gets mailed in together. That's how you show the IRS you have a valid tax purpose. Okay, Alex, dodge that first bullet. But now comes proving their identity and foreign status, which leads us right into another really common trap. Now, Alex is smart. The last thing they want to do is mail their actual passport halfway across the world. So they get a really good copy made and take it to a notary to get it officially stamped. Seems like a safe, responsible thing to do, right? Nope. Huge mistake. The IRS is incredibly strict about this. They absolutely do not accept notarized copies for ITIN applications. This will get you an automatic rejection, but only after you've waited weeks and weeks for an answer. And this brings up a totally fair point. I mean, seriously, who wants to be without their passport for 2 or 3 months? What if you need to travel? It feels incredibly risky, and frankly, it is. So, what are you supposed to do? Well, here's the good news. You don't have to mail your passport. Alex can either make an appointment at a designated IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center or find what's called a certified exceptions agent. These are pros who are authorized by the IRS to check your original documents in person and then hand them right back to you on the spot. No mailing, no waiting, no risk. It's a game changer. All right, this next one is really interesting because it shows how trying to get the biggest refund you can, which sounds like a good thing, can actually get you into some serious hot water with the IRS. Check out this cautionary tale about a filer named Rosa. She was, by mistake, issued the Earned Income Tax Credit,
which is a huge credit for working families. But here's the catch. She wasn't eligible for it because she filed with an ITIN. The IRS eventually caught the error, and she ended up with a bill for over $5,000. Ouch. So the fix here is all about knowledge. You've got to know which tax credits you're actually eligible for. And the big one, the EITC, is strictly for people who have a valid Social Security number. So Alex needs to forget about that one and instead focus on credits that I-10 holders can be eligible for, like the child tax credit or the credit for other dependents, and just make sure all the right forms are filled out correctly. Okay, on to pitfall number 4. Alex now knows what to file and what to claim, but it turns out when they file is just as important. Hitting send at the wrong time of year can lead to massive delays. So get a load of this timeline. During peak tax season, which is roughly January to April, the IRS says processing can take up to 11 weeks. And getting your documents back, that could take up to 14 weeks. Let that sink in. That's potentially more than 3 months without your passport, all because you mailed it during the busiest time. So the takeaway here is simple. Plan ahead. Don't wait until the last minute. The best time to apply is either well before or after that peak season rush. And if you really do need more time to get your stuff together, you can always file for an extension. That gives you some breathing room without having to deal with the stress of the deadline rush. Okay, Alex has made it. They've jumped through all the hoops, the complete package is mailed, identity is proven safely, the right credits are claimed, and the timing was perfect. The ITIN finally arrives in the mail. But the job isn't quite done yet. Yeah, here's a little surprise for you. A lot of people think that once you get an I-10, it's yours for life, just like a social security number. Well, that's a myth. An ITIN is not permanent if you don't use it. And that brings us to the use it or lose it rule. It's simple. If you don't file a U.S. tax return for 3 years in a row, your ITIN automatically expires. The IRS does this to keep their system clean and prevent old, unused numbers from floating around. So if Alex decides to take a few years off from U.S. projects and doesn't file, that number will become useless, and they'll have to start the renewal process all over again. The solution is just some simple upkeep. To keep that ITIN active, all you have to do is use it on a tax return at least once every 3 years. That one little step keeps the number alive and ready for the next time you need it, and it saves you from a massive headache down the road. So we've gone through 5 major pitfalls. But what if there was a way to basically bypass most of them right from the get-go? Well, there is, and it's what the pros do. Remember those certified acceptance agents or CAAs? They're basically experts authorized by the IRS to help you with your I-10 application, and they solve the biggest problems immediately. They verify your passport right there, so you never mail it. They go over your whole application, the W-7, the tax return, all of it, to make sure it's absolutely perfect before it gets sent to the IRS. And get this. The data actually shows that people who use a CAA are 15% more likely to get their application accepted. It's a no-brainer. So Alex is finally on the right path, avoiding all those common mistakes. But this whole thing brings up a bigger question. With some banks now letting people use an ITIN to open accounts or even get loans, you have to wonder, is it still just a number for paying taxes, or is it slowly becoming a key that unlocks broader financial access in the US? Definitely something to think about.